Hello, BookTube. I have a mail haul for you here on this gray, overcast Tuesday. This winter storm that has been stalking its slow way across the country is going to peter out in New England, and it right now is difficult to call what it's going to be, but it looks like a mess later in the week. But right now it's just overcast. It's a big storm, so we are getting no sunlight. but I've got some mail, no boxes, no cardboard at all. But we'll see. It's a fairly healthy size. We'll see what we can get out of it. Anything squeal worthy. Of course, I have no way to estimate how long this video will be because, as we proved yesterday, this is a trans-Einsteinian BookTube channel where 10 books can take less time than 4 books to haul. So who knows how long this will take? No idea. You're making stew anyway. Let's see. Let's see what the first one is. Oh, it's a murder mystery. I am very much in the mood for murder mysteries. Very much. Oh, very nice. And it comes blurbed by the Historical Novel Society, a fairly reputable organization. So this is by Alison Montclair, and this is A Royal Affair, a Sparks and Bainbridge mystery. Last year brought Alison Montclair's complex, darkly comedic, and utterly full of heart debut. That would be heartfelt. Okay. The Right Side of Man, that introduced readers into the world of the power duo Iris Sparks and Gwendolyn Bainbridge of the Right Sort of Marriage Bureau. We saw that. Remember that? Using beautiful historic detail and witty, gorgeous prose, Montclair once again pleasantly immerses her readers back into post-World War II London in A Royal Affair. In what will soon be many readers' favorite charming summer mystery, Iris and Gwen find themselves unexpectedly engaged to dig into the past of a suitor to a royal princess. I think we know who that princess will be, right? The talismanic handbag. This comes out in early June. In London, 1946, the Right Sort of Marriage Bureau is just beginning to take off, and the proprietors, Miss Iris Sparks and Mrs. Gwendolyn Bainbridge, are in need of a bigger office and a secretary to handle the growing demand. Unfortunately, they don't yet have the necessary means. So when a woman arrives, a cousin of Gwen's, with an interesting and quite remunerative proposition, the two of them are all ears. The cousin, one Lady Matheson, works for the Queen in some capacity and is in need of some discreet investigation. It seems the Princess Elizabeth has developed feelings for a dashing Greek prince, and a blackmail note has arrived, alluding to some potentially damaging information about said prince. Do we know who the Greek prince is? And if you royal watchers know who the Greek prince is, you get three guesses. Wanting to keep this out of the palace gossip circles, but also needing to find out what skeletons might lurk in the prince's closet, the palace has quietly turned to Gwen and Iris. Without causing a stir, the two of them must now find out what secrets lurk in the prince's past before his engagement to the future Queen of England is announced. Well, okay. All right. I'm all for it. The prince, of course, is Prince Philip, who would go on to become Queen Elizabeth's consort. But I'm curious to know now. Let's find out about the author. Do we know about the author, Alison Montclair? Are we going to be able to learn anything about her? She grew up devouring hand-me-down Agatha Christie paperbacks and James Bond movies. Okay, I like her already. As a result of this deplorable upbringing... Very good. Very good. She became addicted to tales of crime, intrigue, and espionage. She now spends her time poking through the corners, nooks, and crannies of history, searching for the odd, mysterious bits and transforming them into novels of her own. Okay, great. All right, I'm in love with the author now, but I'm curious to know how much research was done, because I know as much about Prince Philip as it is healthy to know, and more. I know about 2 skeletons in his closet when he was... It's impossible to think of it now. You see pictures of Prince Philip in the news now. It's impossible for you to imagine how glorious a figure he was when he was 18, when he was 20. And there were 2, at least, skeletons in his closet when he began to drift into Princess Elizabeth's orbit. So I'm curious to know if this author knows about them or is going to sort of adapt them. Maybe change them around a little. That's interesting. Oh man, what? This goes out in June, but I want to read it right away. But anyway, let's see what this next one is. This is a hardcover. Oh, okay, we've seen this already. This is the finished copy, comes out later this month, of Musonius Rufus. That one should disdain hardships. This is a little hardcover translation of Musonius Rufus, translation from the Latin of a Roman Stoic. The Stoic philosopher Musonius Rufus was one of the most influential teachers of his era, and his message still resonates with startling clarity today. Alongside Stoics like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius, he emphasized ethics in action, displayed in all aspects of life. Merely learning philosophical doctrine and listening to lectures, they believed, will not do one any good unless one manages to interiorize the teachings and apply them to daily life. In Musonius Rufus's own words, philosophy is nothing else than to search out by reason what is right and proper by deeds and put them into action. Okay, at a time of renewed interest in Stoicism, and the interest in Stoicism is renewed because more and more people are being driven to suicidal rage and despair by Donald Trump. As impossible as it is to believe, this is also a Trump book. At a time of renewed interest in Stoicism, this collection of Musonius Rufus's lectures and sayings, beautifully translated by Cora Lutz, offers readers access to the thoughts of one of history's most influential and remarkable Stoic thinkers. Okay. All right, so we saw this already. This comes out in February. It's a hardcover of Musonius Rufus. That makes it noteworthy right there. I'm not sure what kind of critical attention this thing will get. I will review it, but I don't know who else will. Unless maybe in connection with in combination with a flood of other Stoicism books that have come out recently. All the idea behind all of them being, well, you can't change the world, and yeah, it's true that the most powerful nation on earth is run by a fascist white supremacist, but you can't change that, so you might as well embrace Stoicism. That's just about the worst possible reason for a resurgence in a philosophical doctrine that I can imagine, and yet there it is. Okay, what is this next book? Let's see if we can get off Musonius Rufus. Fantastic. Okay, American history and American presidential history, but not of a kind we need to worry about. Although, isn't it? I will be corroded from the inside if this turns out to be another Trump book. I can easily see how it would be. This is by A.J. Baim, and this is Dewey Defeats Truman, the 1948 election and the battle for America's soul. With a famous photograph where Truman is holding up the newspaper that said Dewey defeats Truman because they had to go with a headline and they went with the wrong one. They guessed the wrong one. And this might actually be a Trump book because this is what we are headed into here in the United States. There is no chance whatsoever that Donald Trump will accept a defeat at the election. None whatsoever. It already started. The disinformation campaign has already started. And will just continue in huge overdrive, led by the President of the United States himself, who, if he is defeated at the polls, will say that he won. And not only that he won, but that he won by millions of votes. He will declare the election illegitimate, fake news. And if he does, he's not going to lose, but if he were to lose at the ballot box, he's going to do that, beyond a shadow of a doubt. And then the question will be what happens next. Short of him having a fatal coronary and just dying face planted first on a golf course, he will continue to say that he won that election for the rest of his life, up and down the country, to sold-out crowds of gun-toting maniacs. And that's long-term. Short-term is, well, okay, what if he loses at the ballot box and says, no, I didn't lose. It's not possible. It's all fake. Millions of people voted illegally, so I'm not leaving. Then what happens? It will be a demonstration of what I've been saying for over a year now, which is despite no matter what you talk about in terms of politics or ideology or voter suppression or anything like that, the 2020 election is going to come down to a referendum on the loyalty of the United States Armed Services. Will they physically remove a president who has lost at the ballot box and refuses to go? Or will they not? Because he's their commander-in-chief. It's going to come down to that if he loses. So in a way, in a perverse way, I'm almost hoping that he doesn't lose. But anyway, let's see what we have here. I've made this a Trump book, whether it is or not. But I promise I won't treat it that way when the time comes. And the time is June. This comes out in early June. Uh, and it sheds light on one of the most action-packed 6 months in American history. A period with haunting parallels to the modern day. Okay. On the eve of the 1948 election, America was a fractured country. Racism was rampant, foreign relations were fraught, and political parties were divided more than ever. Americans were certain that President Truman's political career was over. The ballots haven't been counted, noted one political columnist, but there seems to be no further need for holding up an affectionate farewell to Harry Truman. Truman's own staff did not believe he could win, nor did his wife Bess. The only man in the world confident that Truman would win was Truman himself. And Winnie did, in the most shocking electoral upset in U.S. history, at least until the election of Donald Trump. 1948 was a fight for the soul of a nation. Not only did Truman triumph, but he oversaw watershed events, the passing of the Marshall Plan, the acknowledgement of Israel as a new state, the careful attention to the origins of the Cold War, and operating sandstone atomic tests, and the desegregation of the military. This book reveals how Truman successfully stalked a claim for a new America, guiding his country forward at a critical juncture with striking similarities to our times. Oh my. Okay. All right. Well. This author. I mean that's that's gruff. I don't know how I'll feel about that in June. That it's bound to be worse in June. But this author did a book on Truman called The Accidental President that was quite good. So he has as I always say on this channel, he has credit in the bank. So let's see what this next one is. Let's see if we can get away from Trump books. That would be nice. Trump books either explicit or implicit. Let's see. What's C, D, C, B, T. What have we got here? Okay. All right. This comes out in May. This is called Incitement: Anwar al-Awlaki's Western Jihad by Alexander Melagru Hitchens. In the Western world, the term counterculture brings to mind a range of social movements: beatnik, hippie, punk, possibly even today's eco-radicalism. Few, however, would think to add jihadism to the list. In this definitive account of the most influential Western champion of violent jihad, Alexander Melagru Hitchens makes the case that Anwar al-Awlaki was so successful in importing and presenting Salafi jihadism, an extreme puritanical and fringe Islamic belief, to the Western Muslims that he quickly became the leader of a new countercultural social movement within the West, one of the most violent and rapidly evolving of its kind. Okay. All right. This is from Harvard University Press, and it's in May. I don't know a whole lot about the subject. I would probably have to read up quite a bit. And boy, oh boy, would that be depressing reading. I'll do it, of course, especially if I'm commissioned to do it. I have an idea that someone might commission me to do that. Let's see. Oh no! Oh no! Okay, do I have a pub sheet here? No. Sorry, I have no schnauzer on the job. She is here in this room. She's pressed up tight against the small of my lower back. It is cloudy today. And as far as I can tell, my miniature schnauzer is solar operated. As far as I can tell, she is a solar battery. And when it is cloudy, all she wants to do is sleep. I can convince her to go for a little walk, but it's reluctant. She's looking at me the whole time. So she is not tearing apart packages. Maybe she'll wake up as time goes on. Talk about jihad. This author will be familiar to you, but he'll be familiar to you for nonfiction. For The Looming Tower. But this is a novel. This is Lawrence Wright, The End of October. A novel by Lawrence Wright. Let's see here. At an internment camp in Indonesia, 47 people are pronounced dead with an acute hemorrhagic fever. When microbiologist Dr. Henry Parsons travels there on behalf of the World Health Organization to investigate, what he finds will soon have staggering repercussions. His driver, unknowingly carrying the devastatingly infectious disease, has joined the millions of worshippers of the annual Hajj to Mecca. Meanwhile, halfway around the globe, the Deputy Director of U.S. Homeland Security scrambles to mount a response to the rapidly spreading pandemic, which she believes may be the result of an act of bio-warfare. Already fraying global relationships begin to snap one by one as the virus slashes across the United States, dismantling institutions, scientific, religious, and governmental, and decimating the population. A full-tilt, electrifying, one-of-a-kind thriller steeped in real-life political and scientific implications. Lawrence writes the end of October is the most gripping read of the year. This is not one of a kind, of course. Those of you who've been reading science fiction and so-called speculative fiction for the last 50 years will know that pandemic novels are not, this is not one of a kind. But boy, oh boy, how prescient is it? Jeez Louise, he must have been writing this before the coronavirus started making headlines. I mean, certainly before it came to America. And here he has a book about a massive outbreak. Good Lord. Okay, well, his bio note says that he's a staff writer for The New Yorker, a playwright, a screenwriter, and author of 10 books of nonfiction, including The Looming Tower, Going Clear, about Scientology, and God Save Texas, and one previous novel, God's Favorite. So this is his second novel, and an author who's better known for his nonfiction. Interesting, very interesting. Certainly he's known for his research. And a book like this, in order to have verisimilitude, would have to be heavily researched. So that's interesting in its own right. Let's see. Let's see what we have here next. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, what an ominous and threatening mail haul this is. We didn't know how good we had it with Princess Elizabeth. All the rest of it's been doom and gloom. And we end with doom and gloom. This is by Ben Buchanan. This is The Hacker and the State. Cyber attacks and the new normal of geopolitics. We've had jihad. We've had pandemics. We've had, good Lord. Few national security threats are as potent or as nebulous as cyber attacks, unless it's a sweeping disease or the threat of jihad. Ben Buchanan reveals how hackers are transforming spycraft and statecraft, catching us all in the crossfire, whether we know it or not. State-sponsored hacking is the stuff of headlines. The idea of cybercrimes have been etched into our brains in dramatic fashion in the news, on television, and in the movies. The protagonist in the 1983 film War Games hacked into the American military computer so aptly that President Reagan demanded an inspection of all military computers to ensure the safety of the United States. And the protagonist of the 1983 film War Games was Matthew Broderick. A very young Matthew Broderick giving a weird performance. It is a weird performance. Right up to the end. It's a weird performance. I don't know how many of you remember that movie. Do you want to play a game? with Barry Corbin as one of the big stuffy generals. And what's his name? Michael Wood as the crazy scatterbrain scientist who was always has the key to the whole thing. What a movie. I wonder how War Games would hold up today. Anyway, in this book, the author casts all the hypotheticals aside and paints a multidimensional and nuanced picture of how two nations hackers engage one another and the dangers that result. Oh my. Okay. All right. Well, this comes out at the end of the month, so this is right around the corner. I have to get right on this. Computer hacking. Okay. All right. So sorry, I haven't had many sunbeams to offer you in this mail haul. We have The Hacker and the State. We have The End of October about a pandemic. We have Incitement about the rise of radical jihadi movement. We have Dewey Defeats Truman about the 1948 election that tried the country's soul. We have That One Should Disdain Hardships. I guess this book will come in handy when reading all the others. And we have A Royal Affair by Alison Montclair, in which a private agency is contacted by the palace in order to ferret out the skeletons in the closet of a certain Greek princeling. A Greek princeling who was right high royalty in his own right, apart from marrying into the royal family. So there you go. A rather doom and gloomy mail haul. We can't call them ahead of time. So I'm going to wrap this up for now. but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.